Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today we are going to be going over Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret, Demystified by Myself. This is going to be a breakdown of the chapters of one of Neville's most famous and profound books that he has ever written. This is one of the most exciting books someone can get into. For me, it changed my entire life. If you are curious as to how you can utilize your subconscious mind, the hidden power within yourself to manifest anything that you want, to create your reality, then this is the book for you. And alongside, considering this book was written many years ago, today teachings are slightly different. But the context of today sometimes is applied to Neville Goddard's book, Feeling is the Secret. So I want to go through and specifically point out those misconceptions and then give them their proper meaning as Neville has intended. And so before we begin, if this is the type of thing that interests you, if you love manifesting, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then let us get into it then. So Neville Goddard's Feeling is a Secret, Demystified by Myself. I'm really excited about this, but I want to give you a little bit of information very briefly as to why I am qualified to do this. As I said, my name is Joseph Alai. I'm 31 years old. I love teaching manifestation or how to manifest. I've been doing it for over 10 years. And my goal, if you can't tell or if you've never been to any of my other videos, is to demystify manifestation so that anybody can use it. I myself, ever since I started manifesting, I was told to keep track of everything that I did. I'm a computer scientist. My majors in college were computer science, mathematics, and physics. And so for myself, I have a very analytical mind. So I used that to my advantage since the beginning to systematically test and prove manifestation. And so for me, this book specifically, alongside all of the other manifestations that have unfolded in my life has taken a complete 180. It has changed everything. You can use this stuff to manifest health, literally healing, money, riches, finances, a new business, anything, love, romance, specific people, marriages, and happiness, well-being, helping other people, etc. That all exists within the power of your subconscious mind. And Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret is going to explain all of that to you. If you also haven't checked out my blog, you could do that if you want, sovereignmind.com, as it says right there. But nevertheless, that is a little bit about me. So let's go over the outline. So the outline is as follows, right? The law and its operation. These are the chapters. The law and its operation, sleep, prayer, and spirit feeling. And then a conclusion on this. So super excited. Let us just jump right into this then. We have a lot to cover. So the introduction to Feeling is the Secret. So your imagination and subconscious are the keys to creation. I mean that literally. That is what Neville means literally. You can have anything that you want. If you can fathom something, if you can conjure up something within your mind, it is absolutely possible to manifest it in reality. You can be as specific as you want and get those specific results. You can be as general as you want and get those general results. You are always manifesting. This is something you always have been doing and you always will be doing it. And so this book is of utmost importance because if we are going to be creating our reality, then we may as well be doing it deliberately. So if you follow the specific process outlined in this book, it is a done deal. You will manifest anything that you want. I've done it, as I said before, thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I have textbooks filled with all my manifestations. And then there are many more which I have not kept track of. And in fact, when I read this book for the first time, I had already been manifesting for a number of years, but everything took off rapidly after I read this book. So you can create, as I said, anything that you can conceive. That's health, wealth, love, happiness, spirituality, and relationships. So if you have a key goal in mind, if you want money, you want to have a business, if you want to hit the jackpot, if you want to get married, if you want to get married to a specific person, if you don't want to get married, if you don't want a person anymore, if you want to lose weight, if you want to be happier, if you want to help someone else out, all of those are within your grasp right now. You don't need anything else at all. It is all within you. It is all within your mind. So the law and its operation. So actually, before we do this, I want to say this. So what I've done is I have gone through the book, and I've read this book so many times. In fact, I have manifested a signed copy of this book. But nevertheless, I went through the book. I outlined it. I cross-referenced it with a multitude of Neville's other teachings. I've reflected back upon my personal experiences, and I've outlined this PowerPoint for you, which contains all of it, the demystified version of Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret. So number one, the law and its operation. Everything is consciousness, literally. The entire universe that we behold, including ourselves, consists of the material or substance called awareness. The world without, meaning everything external, the friends we have, the feelings we experience, the ideas we harbor, the sensations we feel, all of it is consciousness. There's a law of consciousness, which we'll explain throughout this PowerPoint. Awareness is a field or a substance which all things exist within. Anything we ever have, anything we will experience, including feelings, thoughts, and sensations, which literally covers everything, we are aware of. All of those things we are aware of. Therefore, they all ultimately exist within our awareness, and therefore it is made up of awareness. Now, that is the way to deduce that everything is awareness. Neville Goddard alludes to this in his book, but more specifically explains it in his other lectures. And that's a very important fact, that everything is awareness, because as we know in his other books and everything else he says, is that awareness is God. So you are God. The law of consciousness again. The way this text must be experienced on this screen to exist, and a cloud must exist in the sky to exist. The same way all things must exist within somewhere. Everything must exist within somewhere, right? In a book, the words, they can't exist unless they're on that piece of paper, so to speak. And in that same way, think of a thought. A thought appears within your mind. A thought appears within your mind, right? You are not that thought. You are the observer of that thought, but the thought is appearing in something that is called awareness. The same thing goes for feelings and sensations. So everything, literally. Given that we are aware of everything we experience, including thoughts, feelings, and sensations, they all must exist within awareness. Given that all things exist within awareness, that is where all things exist within. So it's just another way of saying that all things exist within awareness. Awareness contains all things. Given that is where all begins, that is where all changes and manifestations must begin. The rest will manifest outwardly. So the point is that everything is awareness. Everything stems from awareness, our awareness. We can never know anything that doesn't exist within our awareness. So if something exists outside of our awareness, we'll never be aware of it. But the point of the matter is that it all stems from your awareness. And given that it all stems from your awareness is the source. Your consciousness is the source, and all of this is the result. And so where we must begin is not if we want something, if we want a person, if we want a business, if we want happiness. It is not in the external world where we must go. That is not the cause. We must go within. And I'm not talking about a way in which we psychologically, examine our mind and make ourselves happier, or we somehow figure out a plan to manipulate the world to get what we want. I mean, literally all of this without started from within via your subconscious and your imagination, or just your consciousness. So there's a stream of consciousness that Neville talks about, and it's divided into two pieces, the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is personal and selective. The subconscious is impersonal and non-selective. Conscious is the realm of effect. Subconscious is the realm of thought. In other words, your conscious mind devises things. You can construct and control your mind to create novel images. So it is the selective thing. It's what you like, what you want to see. And then the subconscious is non-selective. It doesn't care what it receives. It just receives it when you give it to the subconscious. Nevertheless, it is the realm of cause, which means your subconscious, and this is super critical, it is your subconscious that has manifested all of this without. It is the realm of cause. All that you experience has first been planted in your subconscious and then manifested outward. The conscious mind generates ideas and impresses them on the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind accepts what the conscious mind impresses and expresses it in this three-dimensional world. This is how the entire world is in existence, by first conceiving ideas in the conscious mind and then having them expressed by the subconscious mind. So, as this is a very simplistic way to analyze how manifestation works. And in Neville's other teachings, he alludes to a little bit more, which we talk about Neville explaining that we are all God. But nevertheless, in my own personal experience, I've been able to expand upon it just a little bit to understand things like how a bridge of incidents will unfold, which we will go over in a little bit. But a way to kind of expand upon that is the network. It's more of a network of consciousness. But what I mean by that is the conscious mind does not only impress ideas to the subconscious mind, right? That's as it's kind of simply put. It's easy for the beginner to understand, but it also receives ideas from the subconscious mind. This is how manifestations are executed. Ideas are impressed by the conscious onto the subconscious. The subconscious is connected to the superconscious, or infinite intelligence, or God, and the superconscious formulates ways and means to execute these impressions in reality. So it's the master planner. The superconscious is then connected to every subconscious that there is, all of them. So the subconscious receives information from the superconscious at that point and converts whatever was received into impulses, thoughts, feelings, or anything required to force the host to do what it is necessary to manifest the initial impression. This is how thousands of people can be utilized to accomplish any impressed task. This is how the conscious receives information from the subconscious. And to expand upon that a little bit more, to break it down a little bit more, we have the way that a manifestation unfolds. If you've never actually experienced a manifestation, this is the way that it will happen. You hold an image in your mind, you imagine it to the point that you impress it on your subconscious mind, right? At that point, you've given away the power to something else to execute it for you. He who has the power, the entity that is moving everything. And the way that your manifestations unfold is that people, say I wanted a free cup of coffee, somebody will receive an impulse that says, I want to give someone a free coffee today. Whoever is behind me in line is going to get a free coffee. Then you, the one who wanted to manifest the free coffee, you end up at that place behind that person, and then that person buys a coffee and then buys your drink for you. There's a network, a perfectly crafted, a perfectly orchestrated network that is always being utilized and fed into their subconsciouses by your imaginal act. And so that's what I wanted to stress by saying that. So the conscious mind has the capacity to originate ideas, which are then impressed on the subconscious. These impressions can come in any form that the conscious mind can be aware of. That's a very important statement. These impressions, these images that we can craft, anything that you can be aware of, you can impress upon the subconscious mind. Not just emotion. Anything that you can draw upon or create within your conscious mind, you can impress upon the subconscious mind, then that will manifest. The imagination is the idea-generating faculty of the conscious mind that can impress on the subconscious. The amazing imagination. By being able to form novel ideas in the imagination, holding them there, replaying them there, and making them as lifelike as possible as if you're really there, they will be impressed upon the subconscious mind. The imagination is humankind's greatest asset, period. Without it, we would only be able to manifest what we experience physically, which would leave us in an endless cycle of imprisonment, seeing something, manifesting it, seeing something, manifesting it. It's only our perception or imagination which can alter what we experience or create things that we haven't even experienced, and then those will become manifested. And there's a verse that says, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That is talking about the imagination. Everything that we behold has been manifested by us. Whatever you desire, believe you have already received it, and you shall have it. That's another verse. And believe should be taken as imagining in first-person point of view. This is something so misconceived by almost everyone, New Age thought, people, Christians. The word believe is the word pistis, generally, a lot of the time. And this is in Greek. This is where it has been derived from. And most people thought of it as hoping that something is going to happen. Or, basically hoping that something is going to happen. But evidence suggests, if you research other authors at the time where it was written, it is kind of the second derivative from the word imagination. So there's a word prior that means imagining just randomly, so to speak. But then pistis means to imagine as if it is realistic. So the word belief means imagining as if you're actually experiencing it. So whatever you desire, believe you have already received it and you shall. Whatever you desire, imagine that you have it now. And know that you have it now. Use the words in your mind, the thoughts, as if you had it now. For an example, if I wanted this microphone or something, and this is my imaginal act, I'm imagining this right now, I would have to say this. This is what I would have to do. I have this microphone. I love that I have this microphone. I wouldn't have to verbalize this internally, but with my thoughts internally. I wouldn't have to speak it, but I could think it. That is belief. That is belief. That is pistis. That is prayer. With the ability to choose what we think of or imagine, we therefore have complete control over creation. Actually, let's say that again. We have complete control over creation. Complete control over creation. That means anything that we want, everything that we experience, period, whether we want it or not, we are the creator of that. We have control over all of it. And so it is critically important to understand that it is the source is within. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As in heaven, so on earth. Being that you are God, all of that which exists within gets pushed out. Imagination can create. The imagination is the only thing that creates impressions for the subconscious mind. Sorry, that's supposed to say the imagination is not the only thing that creates impressions for the subconscious mind. Thoughts, attitudes, sensations, emotions, expectations, reactions, judgments, inner conversations, memories, and anything that you can conceive within your mind. All of those are equally potent, can equally create and impress upon your subconscious mind and then manifest out. So it isn't just conjuring images in your mind. Memories create. Your thoughts, more than anything, create. Over 60,000 thoughts a day. Each has the potency of an atomic bomb to create this reality. Imagine now if you just alter your thoughts in a slightly different direction, how much different your reality would be. And this is not speculation. This is the truth. So what is the subconscious? The subconscious is the mechanism of creation, or the womb of creation. It is likened to a garden. The impressions given to the subconscious are very similar to seeds in a garden. So the imagination creates seeds, and then the subconscious mind is like a garden. The subconscious mind then grows the seeds into flowers, so to speak, pushing them out into this world. So to elaborate on that a little bit more as well, it goes with what I said earlier in the network of creation. So if you analyze this, if you begin to test and see what's happening when you manifest and watch all the different components moving, in retrospect, normally this happens, you will find that after you've made the impression, after you've imagined it, you are not in charge of how it is executed. In fact, you can do nothing at all to change how it is executed. You want to spend enough time conjuring up the imaginal scene itself so that it meets your specifications, so that when you hand it over to the subconscious, it's going to do the work that you want it to do. But the way that it happens, the way that it unfolds, that is how you can liken it to a garden and a seed growing. Because what will happen is the manifestation itself, when it's completed, when it's done, it will resemble what you've imagined 100%, like replicated exactly. And so when you conjure up this seed in your imagination, this scene in your imagination, the DNA of that, the end result, just as ours is a human, the end result of this scene might be you receiving $1 million. It might be you getting married to someone. That is the DNA of this seed. And when you drop it in the garden, just like when you drop a seed in a real garden, there's nothing I am doing except for helping it to grow, giving it sun and water. I can't do anything to make it grow. And in that same likeness, it's the exact way. In fact, try to do something otherwise. Try to force it to go faster or in a different way. It is impossible. Nevertheless, you can be sure, guaranteed, that your manifestation will come. And so once it begins to sprout, once it begins to grow, the way that it grows, its flowers that it is growing there's an analog in reality of people beginning to get impulses and thoughts and take certain actions and say certain things, and maybe you are too. And then ultimately, all of those add up. It can be thousands of people connected to this one seed, as if the seed is in the subconscious, and then there's a wire connected to many people's minds, feeding them impulses and thoughts. They are thinking that they are their own thoughts, and that is absolutely amazing. But nevertheless, that seed will fruit to the exact likeness of the thing that you've imagined. As many actions are required, and as many people as required, as much time as it takes, whatever it takes, it will happen. And that is how you can liken this to a garden and a flower or a seed. So, as I said earlier, the subconscious mind is non-selective. Anything impressed upon the subconscious mind will be expressed. Extremely important point, regardless of what it is. So anything impressed is expressed externally. It contemplates expressions as facts, right? That's what Neville says. Feeling is the medium from which impressions are made. If we can imagine a thing and feel it, it will surely become impressed upon the subconscious mind, regardless of what it is. And then it becomes projected into reality. I think it's a great time for me to explain the word feeling, right? So I said something earlier in the presentation, and I was referring to modern, I guess, mainstream New Age thought. And feeling is used mainly in New Age thought to describe an emotional charge accompanying something. So when you say, I can think of one or two mainstream manifestation teachers or law of attraction teachers that say that feeling is it's the only thing that can impress. But the interesting thing about that, and my experience is actually contrary to that, but so is Neville's. When he says feeling here, he is not meaning emotion alone. Meaning, the word feeling he is using means any type of, actually he says it in one of his chapters, The Secret of Feeling and Freedom for All. And he says that feeling means sensibly felt. And he refers it back to Genesis with Esau and Jacob and Abraham, and how Abraham felt Jacob's arm, and he thought it felt like Esau, and he literally touched it. And so the feeling here does not mean specifically emotion. It means any facet of the imagination that makes something sensibly real. It makes it seem real. So another word for feeling would be something that makes it seem real. So that could be emotion. That could be touch. It could be taste, smell, hearing. It could be anything at all, a sense. That is feeling. That is absolutely critical and crucial, and that is the biggest misconception. And for a lot of the mainstream law of attraction and manifestation teachers, many of them, in fact, most of them grab their information, a lot of their information from Neville Goddard, right? He's one of the originals in the 20th century. But they got this wrong. And so oftentimes you'll hear of a conflicting idea. And that's why it's very important to cross-study and cross-examine his teachings, because it's not only by his experience. You can use the list method, as I talk about in some of my videos, and easily prove that you don't have to use emotion. It can be any imaginal faculty that you can thoroughly impress upon your subconscious mind or thoroughly experience it. So what kind of things can be impressed? I've already gone over this slightly, but nevertheless, given that anything that a person can be aware of can be impressed upon the subconscious mind, anything can be impressed. Anything can be impressed. But it is not only the impressions made daily that are expressed. The subconscious mind is also a storage device. Super important. Super important. And the subconscious needs to express. So the subconscious mind stores memories, beliefs, imaginal acts, fears, assumptions, expectations, judgments, and anything that can be experienced, right? So the time that you were picked on as a kid and that really, really hurt you, that is within your subconscious. The time you failed in a relationship or your partner cheated on you, that hurt you, and that is within your subconscious. If you are experiencing repeated problems, things that are happening over and over, cycles, it is because it is stored within the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind will and must continuously express that which is impressed upon it. Thus, it is a perpetual creation machine, the subconscious mind. The need for expression. You can, however, utilize this to your advantage. What is it that you want? What would you like to be stored in your subconscious mind and be manifesting all the time? Do you want money? I've manifested a business, a girlfriend, a lot of money. I've manifested cool events, winning contests, going on vacations, free vacations. Anything that you can think of, you can manifest. It's not hard as long as you follow the steps that are provided. And so I want to talk about the cycle of creation, which is another aspect. Man first impresses his ideas on the subconscious mind via some form of creative thought. These impressions are like seeds. The subconscious mind accepts these seeds regardless of type and begins to grow them. All the ways and means of fulfillment are within the seed itself. As I said before, you have to imagine and then release the seed into the fertile ground. That means imagine and then stop imagining, or imagine and stop until the next night when you imagine. The subconscious it needs its room to grow. If we're overbearing, constantly messing with it, it's not going to be able to grow. So the contents of a seed is the end result that you crafted, as I said before. And all the ways and means are generated by infinite intelligence to project it outward. As it grows, people and things are moving, as I said before. And as in heaven, so on earth. That is talking about your consciousness. In Matthew, it is explained that everything we experience within gets pushed out into this world, right? That's what the prayer, Our Father, says. As in heaven, so on earth. It's literally talking about your mind, right? What does it say? You are the temple of the living God, right? It can't get any more clear than that. This is the law of consciousness summed up. It is vitally important then to become aware of only things we wish to experience and take responsibility for everything we experience. So what I said here again was really important. This is the law of consciousness summed up, is that as in heaven, so on earth. Your mind is a manifestation factory. You have the power of God creating everything in your experience, everything that you're thinking, everything that you're feeling. If you focus on it long enough, if it's charged enough, if you repeat it enough, it will be expressed outward. That is the law of consciousness. You must monitor your thoughts, attitudes, ideas, beliefs, inner conversations, imaginal acts, anything that exists within the mind. Guard it so that you can not only prevent negative things from happening, but switch it to ultimately manifest the life of your dreams. Husband and wife, right? This is really big. This helped me a lot with Neville Goddard. It says in Ephesians 2:3, that's a book regarding aspects of manifesting. The husband is the head of the wife. It's talking about the conscious and the subconscious, male and female. He that loveth his wife loveth himself, right? If you love your wife, if you feed your wife positive things, and we're talking about manifesting the conscious and the subconscious, you love yourself. As I said, conscious is male, subconscious is female. The husband is the director. The wife is the creator or executor. She provides back to the husband form of what the husband provides the wife. So the husband, the conscious, feeds the wife images, thoughts, attitudes, ideas. And then the wife lovingly manifests it in this external world. This is extremely powerful stuff, right? We imagine something and then we manifest it outward. With a unity between the two, you can create anything that you desire. In the Song of Solomon, it says to bring your subjective desire into the womb of her that conceived you. This is referring to the subconscious. So when you imagine something and you bring it into sleep with you, which we'll get into now, that is how you create. And it says it super clear in scripture and as Neville writes in this book. So we just finished up chapter 1, and the gist of it is that your consciousness is the creator of all. It consists of mainly two parts, the conscious and the subconscious. That's your mind. Whatever gets impressed upon the subconscious will be manifested outward on the screen of space. So to be mindful of our thoughts, but not only that, feed ourselves thoughts that will help us achieve our goals. Your subconscious is literally creating all of this without, which means when you feed your subconscious your desires as if they are already fulfilled, you will manifest them. There is no way but to manifest them. And so This chapter, the chapter upon sleep, talks about the most ideal way to impress things on your subconscious mind. So let's hop into it then. Sleeping is the gateway. The gateway into the subconscious is sleep. In order to manifest, we must look at sleep as keeping an appointment with a lover who's controlling the external world. There's a verse that says, in the dream, in a dream, in the vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction. Bringing your imaginal act into bed sets the tone for what's going to come. It sets it and impresses it on your subconscious mind, ready for expression. The conscious mind is awake and active during the day, during the time you're awake. And mainly that. Your subconscious mind is active not only throughout the night, but also throughout the day. It controls all your vital organs, and it's controlling this reality external. It's feeding you thoughts. It is always active. The object, though, is to bypass the conscious mind, so in order to impress the subconscious mind. As the fact that the subconscious mind controls everything in this reality, it is the most precious asset that you have. With it, you can destroy or create. You can experience a life of riches, wealth, beauty, happiness, peace. But you can also experience one of misery, pain, depression, sadness, loss, poverty, any of those things. And so with that said, it is so precious that the conscious mind, your conscious mind, you who have control, you have the capacity to feed it whatever you want. But given that it is under your guard, we have to bypass that guard in order to impress the subconscious mind. Because what would happen if there was no guard? What would happen if everything that you saw or thought of was created? It would be a world of chaos and destruction, and probably good things too, but I'm assuming things would go really poorly if I had a fleeting thought about, I don't even want to say something bad, and it would just happen. So nevertheless, as I said, the conscious mind is the guardian to the subconscious mind. The state akin to sleep, as you may have heard of, having heard of Neville Goddard or not, the state akin to sleep is the ideal state to get in to impress your subconscious mind. And then therefore, it is the ideal state that you should aspire to attain if you want to create your biggest goals. It is a particular state that is not easily achieved, but with practice you can get it. And it involves you having control over your imaginal faculty or your imagination while in a form of sleep. A state akin to sleep does not mean imagining before bed, imagining before sleep, imagining while tired. That is not what a state akin to sleep is. The word akin means in the likeness of. So it's a very peculiar, particular state that is like sleep, but not sleep, where you just have control over the subconscious. Over the imagination, pardon me. You're asleep otherwise. The state akin to sleep is the greatest chance to impress the subconscious mind, as the conscious mind is reduced to a minimum. Anything you imagine at this time will become impressed. Once it is impressed, it must be expressed. So as you're falling asleep, practice. Try to use, and I'll explain more how to get into it, but you want to conjure images and imaginal scenes beforehand to be ready for when you're falling asleep. Bring it into your imagination and then bring it into sleep with you. The conscious mind brings into the subconscious mind the images or contents thereof that it is holding right before bed. The subconscious mind then accepts them as true and in no way objects or fights them. She accepts them exactly as they are. The subconscious then sets to replicate the contents on it or of it. Whatever you bring into sleep with you will be manifested on the screen of space. So do not go to bed sad, angry, lonely, negative. Go to bed happy, positive, accomplished, successful. Otherwise, whatever that mindset is, it will get replicated and pushed out. A short story that happened to me. At one point I was really depressed. I couldn't figure out why, but then later I realized that I was going to bed. I would work, right? I love programming. As I said, I'm a software engineer. I love programming. and I would program from morning till night, but I would go to bed with unsolved problems, racking my mind on how to get them solved. And I thought maybe that was the problem. I was going to bed stressed out and anxious that I didn't get this solved. And then ultimately, when I stopped doing that, what I would do is I would create fictitious ways sometimes. I would try to go to bed on a positive note. When I finished something, say that's the end. But if I couldn't do that, I would create some type of fake success message on my computer. I would use that and fall asleep. The depression and anxiety lifted almost instantly within days. It was amazing. So how do you get into this state akin to sleep? So it's important to note, I'm going to add on to this. So you want to, instead of writing it, it'll probably mess things up. You want to choose an imaginal scene beforehand, which implies your fulfilled desire. And what you do is you sit somewhere or you lay somewhere and let yourself get extremely close to sleep. Very close to sleep. And then once you're almost slipping into sleep, then you bring forth the imaginal act. And that imaginal act has to be a short, this is very important, these are the exact instructions, a short, concise scene of you already having what you want. You already received it, whether it's a minute ago, an hour ago, 10 hours ago. You cannot be in the process of receiving it. It cannot be coming tomorrow. It cannot be coming in 1 minute. It has to have already happened. So you construct a short, concise scene, easy to remember so that you don't slip out of the state akin to sleep, easy to play so that you don't slip out of the state akin to sleep. And while you're there, you play that scene and you repeat it over and over and over and over and over again. That is the key. That will impress. You will receive it. You will manifest it no matter what. Complexity, struggle, fear, or overthinking will not allow you to get into this state. Practicing a scene until it is second nature is the key here. Preparing to sleep, feel yourself into the state of your answered wish. What would you see? What would you taste? What would you touch? What would you feel? Who would you be talking to? What would they be saying about you? Emotionally, what would be going on? What would you be thinking? Feel yourself into that state. Repeat that scene and then fall into sleep. By night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loves. I found him whom my soul loves, and I held him. And I held him, and I would not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house and into the chamber of her that conceived me. It's literally talking about finding your desire, and this is in scripture, and bringing it into your subconscious with you. Thou art all fair, my love. There is no spot in thee. That's another verse. Look at that again, and I'll explain it to you because it's Old English. Thou art all fair, my love. There is no spot in thee. It's not talking about spots. It's not talking about a fair. It's talking about you are perfect. You are perfect. You are perfect. You are pure. You are exact. You are fulfilled. It's referring to your imaginal acts. You have to be able to loop it until it is absolutely perfect, until you are fully aware of being there. You are only present of being in the imaginal act, in first person point of view. This is the attitude you have to adopt when you fall asleep. It should be smooth and without effort. You must fully identify, as I said before. So what do you imagine? This is important. Well, what do you want? That is an important question first. What is it that you want? What do you feel that you want? What are your greatest aspirations? What, if you could snap your fingers, would you like to have? If there was no effort, no requirements of anything to get what you wanted, what would you want to experience and why? Sometimes why is the better answer, because sometimes our analytical mind deceives us. Sometimes we think we want $100,000, but really what we want is to go on 10 vacations and to have all of our debt paid off. So you want to start to really think about what you want. You don't want to think about how to get it. You just want to think about what you want, because remember, we have to imagine the end. There's a very important reason for that. If you imagine before the end, the replicating faculty of the imagination and the subconscious mind will push out a scene. So in real life, things will begin to happen, but it will stop you before you really wanted. It will stop you where you imagined. It won't go further necessarily. There's no guarantee it will go further. I don't know how many times I've imagined right before and then only getting right before. You want to imagine after it is a done deal. So anyway, you want to contemplate what you want. Contemplate what you want. And then outline the detail of what you want and why you want it, right? This way you can get all the detail out and then construct a proper scene. Think from the point of view of the person who already has it. Outline all the sensations, emotional reactions after your achievement has already been achieved, right? I think you get the point on that. As I said, what would you feel? What would you see? What would you experience if you already received your end result? Who would you be with? What would people be saying about you? What would you be hearing? So we'll talk about point of view a little more. As your consciousness is reality, you must imagine from the point of view of actually being you. Do not look at the imaginal scene as if from a movie screen. You must actually be experiencing the results in first-person point of view. Critical. So an example, I'm going to give you an example of imagining. If you wanted to be rich, contemplate how much would you want. Think of what you would have if you had what you wanted. How would you feel emotionally? How would others be looking at you? How would you be walking? How would you be talking? What confidence level would you have? What would you be able to do? An example, I would be in Africa on safari. I would be discussing with my girlfriend about how grateful I am to have X amount of money. I would be so grateful and joyful. She would congratulate me on my success. We would talk about what exotic things we will do next. And I'll give you another example, a real example. I've said this in some of my videos before, but it's how I manifested my business. I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone else anymore. I knew that I wanted to be able to travel and work. I knew that I didn't want to have to work 9 to 5. I knew that I wanted to work as much or as little as I wanted. And I knew that I wanted to enjoy my work. So I constructed an imaginal scene where I was in a foreign place, an exotic place, looking out into the foliage with my laptop on the table, looking out overhead. In my imagination, this is the whole scene. I was looking out. I closed my laptop. I looked over to my left to a friend and said, I'm so grateful it's Wednesday and I'm already done working. Everything was in that scene. Everything was in that scene. The assumption within, the being able to work wherever I wanted, how much or as little as I wanted, being able to travel to foreign places, being grateful about what I did. All of that was within it. I sat there. I didn't even do state akin to sleep, but I used this exact process and I imagined it over and over and over a few different times, and then I let it go. And within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, a business came out of nowhere, literally, and that's this business right here. I was able to quit my job, and now this is all she wrote. But for the average person, if you're getting into this, or even what I do now specifically, I would imagine this night after night. I would imagine until I am fully saturated or fused with the imaginal scene. I should feel the thrill of it being done and no need to do it anymore until it has become a part of you. You then must cease, stop doing it so that it can grow. The garden can grow. So what is possible? This is very important. With God, all things are possible. All things are possible to him who believes. Man is God, and all things are possible to God. Therefore, all things are possible to man. This is straight out of the book, guys. Whenever you pray, believe you have already received it, and you shall have it. Whatever you can conceive, you can manifest legitimately. The fact that you can conceive it and the fact that your consciousness is the source is the proof that it exists, that it will exist without. other forms of imagining. It is not fully necessary for you to get into this state in order to manifest, which we'll talk about also in one of the later chapters. You can also simply imagine before bed when you are drowsy and sleepy, so long as you are fully identified with the imaginal state, meaning relaxing, calming down, repeating a scene until you're fully immersed within it. You can imagine during the day too, or use various forms of imagining, but the key is to impress the subconscious, which is easiest when drowsy. Once awake, man is drawn by compulsion to realize the imaginal act he has impressed upon his subconscious mind the previous nights. All are also influenced by his imaginal act. Anyone who needs to be influenced will be influenced by the way that I described it earlier in the first section. Thus, it goes to say that free will is achieved the night before, not as we go throughout the day. That has already been set and fixed most of the time. We must achieve our manifestations. They must be manifested. They will happen independent of us doing anything. We will be forced without us even realizing it for it to happen. And so will everyone else. And we'll think that it's our own thoughts. They'll think it's their own thoughts. But it'll get you your end. We will complete them. They must be completed. Acceptance of the end result automatically causes the subconscious mind to become impressed by the imaginal act. If we are not persuaded it is real why we are imagining, or rather if we do not sense it real, it will manifest in a way other than we intend. The work should be to generate a realistic scene and imagine it. Not manifest it, and imagine it. So again, I'll repeat that. Your effort, your work should be on doing research, conjuring scenes, mapping things out, and visualizing or using other forms of imagination, not anything else, not forcing, right? Because you want to get a realistic, lifelike scene impressed on your subconscious mind. Emotional reactions, good, bad, or indifferent, are one of the main causes of non-deliberate manifestations. If we do not control our moods and emotions, we will manifest all sorts of undesirable things. Controlling what we pay attention to and how we react to circumstances is one of the keys to a happy, fully controlled life. Controlled by you, not by emotions. You are the gardener. Pay close attention to your thoughts. Do not let negative ones enter into your subconscious. Now, we're not perfect, though. I still have negative thoughts. Everyone does. But after a while, when I first learned about this, I knew that it was, for me, it was life or death. I had issues that were life or death. So I knew I had to very carefully monitor my mind. And I know a lot of other people who thought like this. In fact, it should be perceived like this anyway. Have all your dreams by monitoring your mind, or not, just being lazy. But we don't need to be afraid of every negative thought, because remember, it does take a little bit of effort to impress your subconscious mind. Although if we repeat thoughts over and over, it is very likely they will create. Do not watch unsavory things on TV or indulge in gossip or harmful speaking or thinking. You are the gardener of your life. No one else is. So whether you want to be it or not, you are. If we take control over our thoughts, we take control over our entire life. Our entire life. Which is amazing. And that wraps up that chapter. Super important. State akin to sleep. When to imagine. How to imagine. Vital. Vital. Prayer. Chapter 3, halfway through. What is prayer? Prayer, like sleep, is a way to impress the subconscious mind and create that which we impress. It mimics sleep. When you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut the door, pray to your Father which is in secret, and your Father which is in secret shall reward you openly. This isn't talking about an actual closet. It's talking about your consciousness. Shutting off the senses, closing your eyes, stop listening without, stop having your random thoughts in your mind, but focusing directly on the wish fulfilled in secret right? You are the temple of the living God, it says in Scripture, as Neville also quotes over and over. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? All of these allude to you are God. And when you shut off the senses, when you close the door and go into your subconscious mind, that is when you will be rewarded openly. That is the manifestation verse. When you impress, it will be expressed. It is not asking. Prayer is not asking, but imagining you have already received something, as we kind of gone over before. Whenever you pray, believe you have already received it and you shall have it. So it's again that verse. Prayer is visualizing yourself in first-person point of view as if you already have it. Now, it doesn't just mean visualization. It can mean using your inner voice, thoughts, feelings, sensations. Any of these themselves, as we'll get into later, have the capacity to create themselves individually. Belief is imagining the end in first-person point of view, fully immersed in the imaginal act. Will your prayer manifest? Your prayer must be answered if you assume the feeling that would be yours, were you already in possession of your objective. The moment you accept the wish as an accomplished fact, the subconscious mind finds mean for its realizations. To pray successfully, then, you must yield to the wish. That is, feel the wish fulfilled, as Neville Goddard says. So Neville Goddard talks a lot about the perfectly disciplined person. The perfectly disciplined man is always in tune with the wish as an accomplished fact, Neville says. He knows that consciousness is the one and only reality, that ideas and feelings are facts of consciousness and are as real as objects in space. Therefore, he never entertains a feeling which does not contribute to his happiness. For feelings are the causes of the actions and circumstances in his life. So literally, your consciousness, your thoughts, your imaginal acts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs, ideas, all of these are contributing to the world without. The world without is the culmination of everything that has entered into your subconscious mind. And that's just how it is. The undisciplined man, on the other hand, finds it difficult to believe that which is denied by the senses and usually accepts or rejects solely on appearance of the senses. You may know someone like this, like I used to be in the past, probably yourself, thinking that the objective world, the 3D world, is the end-all be-all, but it is not so. Man, unknowing that he creates his reality, has created it. And not knowing it, he battles his creations, forcing, arguing, swaying. Some moments of happiness, others not, but ultimately on the losing end, unless you were blessed with a positive mindset from birth. The moment man or woman looks within, you can realize there's an undying connection from the external world to the internal world. And once we realize this, all we have to do is turn the knob. Think of something else. Imagine an alternate ending to the problem at hand, the problem that you see right now. Imagine it in first-person point of view and watch as the manifestation begins to unfold. I have a story about that. Recently, there was a medication that I needed that was $2,000. Now, I needed the medication, and so I was willing, if I had to, pay for it. My insurance denied it, but I imagined that I would get that for free. Now, I told them I would pay for it, but I had already imagined that I would have it for free. So what happened? Two weeks later was when the first insurance denied it, but I just imagined. I imagined. And then 2 weeks later, they said they hadn't heard any word back using a different type of insurance. Whatever, I just imagined. And then ultimately, when I said I would pay, they said, sorry, sir, you're not allowed to pay for some reason. The pharmaceutical company won't let you pay out of pocket, which is crazy. She said they wouldn't answer the phone. They won't answer the phone. Ultimately, then finally, they called and said that I'm getting a $2,000 medication for $5, which is insane. And it's the pharmaceutical company themselves paying for it. So it doesn't matter what it is. I know people specifically who have paid the $2,000 for this. I was willing to, but that's not what I wanted to do. So I imagined the outcome of me getting it for free. Now I had to pay $5 for this medication, But what's interesting about it is no matter how hard I tried to pay, it didn't matter because I had already imagined the end. I wasn't allowed to do something that I didn't imagine. And that's kind of one of the keys to understanding how this whole process works. Because of this tendency to rely on evidence of the senses, talking about the undisciplined man, it is necessary to shut them out before starting to imagine, before attempting to feel that which they deny. Whenever you are in the state of mind of, I should like to, but I cannot, the harder you try, the less you are able to yield to the wish, Neville says. Yielding to the end. Prayer is the art of yielding to the wish and not the forcing of the wish. Whenever your feeling is in conflict with your wish, feeling will be the victor. The dominant feeling invariably expresses itself. Prayer must be without effort. So that is an extremely important idea that has to be expanded upon. What it means is that if I am fully identified with this reality, I'm sitting in this chair, I'm on the computer, I have the microphone in front of my face. If I have an idea that I'm somewhere else, this will invariably win. But if I close my eyes and imagine myself on vacation, I see the trees, I see the ocean, I'm drinking the drink, I'm in a resort, whatever it is, fully identified there, feeling the air on my face, the heat of the sun, that idea will win. And prayer must be without effort. Prayer must be without effort. So instead of being conflicting internally and with your mind going back and forth, and maybe you haven't mapped out your plan or your imaginal act or memorized your scene, or if you didn't relax before you begin, you will probably encounter force. The more effortless you can be with your imaginal acts, the better they manifest. And the way to do that is this. It's just critical. Do not do this. So what I'm saying is do this. 9 out of 10 people watching this don't do this, and they're not getting the results that they want. Outline, rehearse, practice, research, and know exactly what you want to imagine before you enter into your imagination. That's the key to imagining effortlessly. And to allow your conscious mind to yield to the desire, allowing it to go straight into the subconscious mind. That's what happens when you don't use effort. You plan it out, map it out, relax, take deep breaths, meditate, whatever you want to do. And from that point, you've already rehearsed this scene. So when you're finally in that meditative state, you bring it into your imagination and play it. And that is the effortless path, the passive state. To yield successfully to the wish. The passive state is to yield successfully to the wish as an accomplished fact. You must create a passive state, a kind of reverie or meditation, reflection similar to the feeling which precedes sleep, as I just alluded to. In such a relaxed state, the mind is turned from the objective world and easily senses the reality of a subjective state, Neville says. So actually, let me comment on that as well. If you are in two places at once, if you're sitting here in this chair, but then imagining, but you're still aware that you're sitting in this chair, but you're also imagining, that's not the right way. If you are thinking from the point of view of the imaginer, in the imaginal scene, you're doing it wrong. You have to be in the imaginal scene totally and completely, forgetting that you're imagining almost. Now, it may not be fully possible to do that, but that is the extreme to which you should aspire to go, and that is how you will know you're imagining properly. Instructions for state akin to sleep, and then other than. So, as we said, it's a state akin to sleep is a state in which you are conscious and not quite able to move or open your eyes, but have no desire to do so. An easy way to create this passive state is to relax in a comfortable chair or a bed. If on a bed, lie flat on your back with your head on a level with your body. Close the eyes and imagine that you are sleepy. Feel, I am sleepy, so very sleepy. In a little while, a faraway feeling accompanied by a general lassitude and loss of all desire to move envelops you. You feel a pleasant, comfortable rest and not inclined to alter your position, although under other circumstances, you would not be at all comfortable. So it's telling you to talk yourself into this state. When this passive state is reached, imagine that you have realized your wish. Not how it was realized, but simply the wish fulfilled. Again, critical. After the end. After the end is critical. When you're in that passive state, imagine the end. Repeat it and either fall asleep or don't. Imagine in picture form what you desire to achieve in life. Thoughts produce tiny little speech movements which may be heard in the passive state of prayer as pronouncements from without. However, this degree of passivity is not essential to the realization of your prayers. Very important point. All that is necessary is to create a passive state and feel the wish fulfilled, Neville says. To expand upon that, very important. State akin to sleep is not absolutely necessary. I myself have manifested thousands of things not in the state akin to sleep. We do, however, want to mimic it to the best of our ability. So when we imagine something, if we use our inner conversations, whatever we're saying to ourselves after the end, whatever we're imagining to ourselves after the end, we should be able to immerse fully with it. So the whole point of state akin to sleep is A, to have the conscious mind reduced to a minimum, but B, shutting off the senses is so that we can stop identifying with this reality and identifying with the imaginal reality. So if we can do that, if we can identify and make something sound real, feel real, hear real, that's like a tongue twister, that's good enough. And then it will be yours. It must be yours. So the final is spirit feeling. Getting in this state. So there's a lot of verses I'm going to go over for the reason that they're in the book and they're important. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts, which means your imagination, not by your effort of your human effort. It's all through imagination. Get into the spirit of the state desired by assuming the feeling that would be yours were you already the one you want to be. As you capture the feeling of the state sought, you are relieved of all effort to make it so, for it is already so. The point of this is that once you imagine what you want, you don't need to take effort in order to achieve it. You will be driven automatically to take that effort. You don't have to think, oh my God, what am I going to do now to get this manifestation? Whatever has to be done will be, as I mentioned before, will be placed in your subconscious and then pushed to you, and you will automatically take those actions thinking they were your own thought. Feeling. There is a definite feeling associated with every idea in the mind of man. Capture the feeling associated with your realized wish by assuming the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of the thing that you desire and your wish would be fulfilled. Again, what it's saying here is you don't have to worry that you're going to get something else other than you imagine. You are the power that is creating it. You're not magnetically bringing it in. It's not an attraction by magnetism or anything of that. It is your mind, your awareness, creating your seed, feeding it to your subconscious, so you will receive what you want. There's no question about it. And it must be returned to the sender. That's not in feeling as a secret, but it's in the scripture. And it talks about how everything we create must be brought back to the awareness that created it to become aware of it again. It's a cycle. Faith is feeling or imagining the end as if it's really there. According to your imagining the end and it's already there, be it unto you. You never attract that which you want, but always that which you are. And this is a verse that really describes that well. To him that has shall be given, and to him that has not, it shall be taken away. That which you feel yourself to be, you are, and you are given that which you are. So here's the thing. I used to look at that verse before I knew what it meant and thought that was ruthless. People who are poor, they just get poorer. People who are rich just get richer. But it has nothing to do with that. That's just a side effect of the law, which is if something exists within your consciousness, you're going to get it. If something doesn't, you won't get it. So he who thinks of something will continue to get more of that. He who doesn't think about a thing will get less of that or none of that. And that's plain and simple the law of consciousness boiled down. So assume the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of your wish, right? Imagine the end, and your wish must be realized. Another verse. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him. So it's equating man in the image of God. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. It's saying that you are Christ, you are God, you are equal to God because you are God, and therefore you can create what you want to create. There's no limits on that. It's equating you to God. You are the temple of the living God. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? These verses are explicitly clear, and Neville makes that abundantly clear that it's talking about you. And this power, this Christ, this God is I am. That's the name of God, and that's your name, and that's everyone's name, because God is everyone, and that is his name throughout all generations. It's your awareness. I am means I am aware, which is what it's talking about, your awareness. This is what we've been talking about this whole time. You are that which you believe yourself to be, period. It will manifest outward. Instead of believing in God or Jesus, believe you are God or you are Jesus. He that believes on me, the works that I do shall he do also. He that believes as I believe, the works that I do shall he do also. These are other ways to say this verse. It's all the same thing. My works are Christ's work. Your work is Christ in action. That's what your imagination is. I and my Father are one. Clear, plain and simple. It is natural to do the works of the one you believe yourself to be. So live in the feeling of being the one you want to be, and that's what you will be. That's who you will be. There's no question to it. More on feeling. Feeling is not only emotion, as I said before, it's commonly thought. As Neville elaborates in various other lectures, feeling is any imaginal sensation which gives a sense of being somewhere. That's the way that he kind of describes it. In Facts Overflow the World, Neville explains that feeling is a sensation of touch. So, which is it? Is it emotion or is it touch? Feeling is all imaginal sensation. Faith is not feeling, but rather like emotion, but rather imagining the end and being fully immersed there. That is feeling. It is using any sense or emotion you can bring forth the idea that you are really there. If I asked you, how does that feel? That's a very ambiguous statement. There are various ways that you could answer that. I could say it hurts, or I could say it doesn't feel real, or I could say it feels good, or I could say I feel happy, whatever. It could be there's a lot of ways. It feels soft, right? There's many ways that you could do this, that you can basically elaborate feeling. And that's what I want to get into. Come close that I may feel you, my son, is the example Neville illustrates within 5 lessons and various other lectures, and like Facts Overflow the World, to describe sensation. He's talking about feeling Jacob's hair on his arm, right? So when he says feeling, he's literally talking about the sensation of touch. And in Facts Overflow the World, he says that's the secret to feeling. So that I'm just trying to make clear that it's not what other new thought people are talking about. This is not new thought. This is old thought. 3,000, 4,000 years old is what this is talking about. And it's talking about sensation. It's talking about any facet of the imagination. All things within awareness that you can be aware of have the capacity to create. Hearing clear voices, using inner speech, taste, touch, smell, emotion, any of these can create. An example of this, something I discovered randomly by accident, was I jotted a list down of different things I wanted. I didn't feel it. I didn't imagine it. I didn't even think about it. I just did it very quickly, stream of consciousness. And then they all manifested without me even trying. And then I did it again, and then it happened again. And most of my manifestations now, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, are just from writing it down. And they just happen. I don't need to look over them, none of that. And this has happened now for not only me, but thousands and thousands of my subscribers. An example would be, I receive free cups of coffee. People dream of me. Something amazing happened to me. Someone said I was perfect. An old friend messaged me. It rained for 5 minutes. These different examples, if I had seen this when I was first learning how to manifest, I would have thought that I was insane and that I was wrong and stupid, probably. But having done each and every one of these things multiple times, deliberately testing it, a segmented test over and over, different ones, it's easy to prove. Don't think about it. Don't imagine it. Don't feel it. Just write down various different things, and you will prove that literally everything is within your grasp. The fact that everything is made up of your awareness because it exists within your awareness, you have the capacity to change and create. So begin now to prove that. That I already said. Imagination, imaginal faculty. So anything that you can imagine can be impressed upon the subconscious mind. You can utilize one facet of the imagination individually and it will still create. Sense, smell, taste, touch, hearing, emotion, or any combination of these will work to impress your subconscious mind. I discovered this by accident, which is contrary to any mainstream or modern thought. So what I found is that I could just use sound, no emotion, no visuals, no touch, none of that. Then I found I can just use touch. Then I found I can just use smell. Then I found I can just use sight. Then I found I can just use emotion. So this is really important because although Neville never directly says this, after I've tested this over and over again, it's true. But not only is it true based on my experience, it does also reference this in Scripture, that everything is God, and therefore everything can create, including our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, independently of each other. So you can use various different faculties, double down on the one that you're the best with, but then integrate other faculties to make your imaginal act more accurate. The reason being is because your awareness will replicate the contents within it. If you have a clear enough imaginal act with just words, you can create an entire reality that way. But if you're ambiguous with what you say, smell, taste, touch, or whatever, then you can generate a likeness of the imaginal act, but it may not be what your intention is. Your end result, the thing you imagine, must consist of a scene that exists if and only if your desire had been fulfilled. That includes making sure that everything is present if your desire had been fulfilled. So if you imagine without emotion, for example, it's perfectly fine, but you may generate something in the likeness, but it may not be given to you. An example would be, say you found a suitcase of $1 million, right? Say that's what you're observing, right? You just see a suitcase of $1 million. How do you know that that's for you? The only way is if you use a feeling for it or a thought saying, oh my God, I just found this suitcase. Or you're telling a friend about it. Oh my God, I found this suitcase of $1 million. Otherwise, it could manifest in an alternate form. Like I've imagined things and not used inner talking or any of that. And it's manifested on TV. So you want to be specific. If you had said to yourself while imagining, I'm so grateful I'm on vacation, while imagining being on vacation, you would most certainly get greater results than just visualizing scenery. And that's an example to drive it home. So in conclusion, feeling is the secret. You are completely in control of your reality. No question about that. If you want to manifest your dreams, conjure a scene which would imply that you already have that dream. You've already manifested that dream. It's in your back pocket. It's a done deal. But the keys are to outline and research how your life would be different, what you would be doing if you already had what you wanted. You want to get into a drowsy state or a state that we described before in the prayer section, something where you've shut off the external world, the senses, etc., and you can imagine vividly, imagine realistically, integrating yourself into that imaginal act as if it's real, being immersed in it. And you repeat that over and over until you fall asleep. Or if you're not trying to fall asleep, just do it until you feel saturated with that. It doesn't matter what you imagine, all things are possible. Anything that you want. Anyone and everyone can be influenced without your knowing and without your needing to do anything at all in order to fulfill your end, which is very important, it realistically means all you have to do is set it and forget it, and you'll automatically be brought towards that end result. Your job is to watch and guard your thoughts with your life. Do not let negative thoughts enter your mind. Do not fantasize about bad things. Fantasize about good things, things that you wish to experience in life that you wouldn't mind, or things that would make you happier. Feel asleep in a good mood or satisfied. During the day, conjure up scenes and imagine them in first-person point of view, or use different imaginal faculties like hearing or taste or touch or inner conversations. The imaginal act will create its own bridge of incidents. You do not need to be aware of this. It is happening, as we described earlier, independent of you by a consciousness more intelligent by far than all that is within it. So you will get whatever you want, and it will manifest to the exact point that you've imagined it. And it will happen perfectly, easily, and effortlessly. And those are some of the keys to understanding how things will manifest. In this way, you can have anything that you want. What do you want? Do you want a successful business? Do you want a wife or husband? Do you want more money? Do you want a vacation? Do you want to be happier? Do you want your brother or sister to have more money to be happier? Do you want to be in shape? What do you want? You can have whatever you want. Do you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire? It doesn't matter. All you have to do is follow these simple steps. The steps that I use to get where I am right now. And I know thousands of people personally who have also used these steps. Conjure up, take the time to conjure up what you want. Map it out. Realize, think from the point of view of, if I could snap my fingers and something could appear in front of me, what would it be without any effort? Where would I want to be? Who would I want to be? Think from that premise. That's how you should always be thinking. Do not allow yourself to get drowned out by facts or limitations. It doesn't matter what exists now. All of that is just you pushed out. As soon as you create a different scene in your mind and impress it on the subconscious, it is going to manifest. It may take a day, a week, a month, a year. The time is not up to you, but it will happen. It is a done deal. So keep that in mind. You can have whatever it is that you want if you can follow this simple process. So there's the conclusion of the demystified summary of Feeling is a Secret by Neville Goddard. I hope you really enjoyed this. It took a lot of time for me, and many years of experience have gone into this. If you like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want broken down systematic methods on how to manifest anything that you want in an exact way, hit the bell icon for more. And also, there is a workshop on Sunday, and it is on the scientific way to become a manifesting master or manifesting purist. So definitely check that out on the link. And you can download the PowerPoint by going down to the description. You might want it, you might not, whatever. Get it. I recommend getting it. And listen, stay tuned for more. Thank you so much for watching me. Thank you.